Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Working our way through episode 1 of Marvel's Daredevil on Netflix. Bibbs, Francis, Alonso, we are out episode 6, Condemned. Probably the most focused episode so far in terms of both geographically and in terms of what characters are involved.
Yeah, like episode 2 kind of had this similar thing when Matt was in Rosario Dawson's apartment, but even then we were cutting away with flashbacks and everything. Everything is really laser focused on the plot, and this is the episode really kind of the whole season hinges on. There's no going back from this. Everything will follow this. Yeah. This is obviously kind of a big deal. You blew up Bell's kitchen. That's not a good thing. That's a bad thing, is what you just did, Kingpin.
No, Kingpin. Bad Kingpin.
Bad Kingpin. I was rubbing his nose in it. I don't know what that was. Damn good episode. A very intense episode, that's for sure.
And I'm happy that, then don't tell me if it happens later, because I haven't watched as much as you guys have, but I was thrilled to know that Rosario Dawson kissing Daredevil was not an instant death sentence, which it so often is in this kind of thing, especially when there's another love interest waiting in the wings who we're supposed to be getting to.
Daredevil's women are often doomed, unfortunately.
It's just a small thing to me that coming off the back of, again, talking about the Flash in Gotham, you get left on a cliffhanger, but they don't directly go to that cliffhanger in the next episode. Daredevil do not do that. You end with him in a conflict with the cops. You start with him in a conflict with the cops.
If you're going the binge watching route, this series is designed at least partly to be considered. I watched this whole series within 24 hours.
Impressive.
Thank you. It was a slow Friday for me. But regardless, it plays so well as one film. There's only a couple episodes that even feel like episodes. Yeah. And we'll get to one of them soon. But the majority of this thing plays really well as one cohesive film. It ended with Matt Murdock. Cops show up, and he's going to give himself up. Yeah. He's like, what am I going to do? You're the cops. But then it turns out they're corrupt cops, so you can beat the shit out of them. But the moment of this episode, everyone loves this episode. This is everyone's favorite episode. There's one moment in this episode that takes me completely out of it. We have had decapitation on this show. We had a close-up of the stump. Yep. We've had people say shit. And yet this movie opens with the cop in slow-mo saying, "Don't you friggin' move." The F word is where we're going to draw the line. That's where it's like, I was fine with my 8-year-old watching Daredevil and seeing that bloody stump. The F word, really, Marvel?
Although,
really?
I will say that I think, I would not. It doesn't take me out of it to have hear a New Yorker say friggin'.
It was the fact that it was in slow-mo and it was like the first thing in the episode really called attention to it in a way that
if he'd said frackin', I'd be like, I don't buy that.
No, only on the Flash.
Exactly.
Only on the
Cisco
Flash.
gets to say that, but not a New York cop.
Exactly. No, this was just neat. It's nice to see a hero completely screwed. Yes. He is screwed. Yeah. In this whole episode, he is shacked up with a guy who is dying, who he doesn't even want to live, but he's got to keep him alive to get information. He's completely unhelpful. He's trying to beat the crap out of Daredevil. Daredevil has to take a cop hostage, which goes really badly.
He's the only not corrupt cop, I guess, which just so happens to be the guy that dies at the end. It's not some corrupt guy that just is...
And Kingpin being a master media manipulator makes him look like, the new scourge of the city.
Yeah, exactly. But that's messed up.
Really great part of the episode, him coming to a compromise with Vladimir, who is a horrible man. You hear about him, he's done all these bad things, but he has to use him to be able to escape to this. So once again, he's getting his hands dirty. He's involving himself with the people that he's directly trying to remove from the city in order to continue to get to Kingpin, which... Again, it's something you wouldn't expect from a superhero. You expect him to try and purge the city free from all these bad guys, but he's using one to his own advantage.
Well, again, it's organized crime. If you remove someone, other things go into place. Yeah. The Russians, Kingpin even has this meeting with Madame Gao and the Owl, and it's just like, hey, if they're gone, we still got this. We're just going to fill that vacuum. That's fine. All you really ever do is move the pieces around the board. And
they're playing 3D chess.
Yeah, there you go, exactly. Yeah. But it's a fun. I would like to say I do like the way that they use. Is it Claire that Rosario Dawson plays?
Yeah,
is that name? I do like the way that they use Claire on this show because having someone in the emergency room organically in this sequence really helps sell the tragedy of it. It reminded me of how much The Amazing Spider-Man 2 sucked, and how like they awkwardly set up at the beginning. Sally Field's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to nursing school," just so she can be a nurse at the end, and it just said, "Okay, come on, people." I'm like, Sally, it's your first day. Don't give out orders. We just heard you were at nursing school last week.
Go give out some magazines.
Yeah, basically, like it doesn't work. But here it works really organically. We're meeting people in the city who serve dramatic functions in sometimes surprising ways.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's great. That's good
what's
storytelling.
interesting is in the last 3 episodes, I think 3, we haven't even had Matt in a scene with Foggy and Karen, right? But you still don't
I think at the beginning of World on Fire, because when the woman came in with like senior Foggy Law and she.
Oh yeah, so that's
it was a meeting, but not much.
Exactly, but they've not been on screen, but you never really feel like you're detached from it because in that one scene in the emergency room, you finally see Foggy vulnerable. You can finally see him like trying to call and really worried about his friend. You know what I mean? So.
I'm the closest he has to family. He'd do the same for me.
Yeah.
And you're just like, he would, but he's also too busy being Daredevil.
How many languages do we think Matt's going to speak by the time this thing is over?
What has he got? He seems to know a little Russian. And he knows Spanish.
Right. And didn't he say, no, it's Foggy who speaks, what is it?
Foggy speaks Punjabi.
I don't know. It just keeps coming up. The Daredevil's like, So I just wonder, like, by the end of this thing, how much of a polyglot is
I've got a question, which is just maybe, I don't know as much about, but how can he detect that there's flares in a kit, just knowing that they're there? I want to know that.
Because with some difficulty.
I understand it's amazing, but I just want to know, I understand he can detect movement, vibrations, everything else, but she's like, on the phone, she's like, what's in the kit? And is there any flares? And he's like, yes. I don't get it. I don't know. Can you smell the...
Sometimes Daredevil's powers...
Phosphorus.
Yeah, maybe that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that might make sense. But like sometimes Daredevil's powers are a little confusing. Wait, how does he know exactly these things that he knows? And usually they come with a way around him. But one thing I did like, actually...
Why does he have an alarm clock, is my question.
I don't know. He's got to get up sometime.
Or with a visual display, I should say, as opposed to
they probably just put it there automatically. It's cheap. It's like why they have Braille keys on drive-in bank tellers. It's because they just make the keys. They're not going to make extra keys just because. One thing I liked, and I think it was more in the last episode than this one, is that Daredevil's like weakness is smartphones. He picks up a smarphone. It's like, oh right. There's nothing for me to feel. Like he can't. I'm glad he can't like read the digital readout with his fingers.
Yeah.
That would be too much. Like I've heard writers on Daredevil talk about this. It's like, okay, so he can read normal text with his fingers. Does he know what color they are? No, that's too much.
Yeah.
The limit has to be somewhere. Well, if the limit isn't somewhere, kind of the whole function of the character, the idea that he is blind, he is technically disabled, but he's still capable and heroic and able to do all these things.
Hypercompensating.
Exactly, he's hypercompensating. But like, if the whole point is he might as well be able to see, he doesn't lose anything, then it misses the point. There's nothing for him to overcome at that point. So there's got to be something. And I like that modern cell phones would be that thing. That makes sense.
So his immediate goal with the whole confrontation with Vladimir was to get a name, right? And he got a name of an accountant, right? Was it an accountant who deals with the money and controls everything? So what is his immediate goal to get that name? Does that take him any closer to trying to find out?
Like you said, that's how we brought down Capone. Was not paying
that
taxes.
Was it. Yeah, I remember the Capone reference.
Or as they say in The Wire, follow the money. You follow the drugs, you'll get a bunch of criminals. You follow the money, you don't know what you're going to uncover.
Yeah.
So Leland Owlsley, who sadly, I wish he kept showing up in the cape and the claws, like the owl from the comics, but he doesn't.
The accountant has a superhero costume in the comics?
Well, the accountant in the comics was actually a rival for Kingpin. They took Leland Owlsley, who was the owl in the comics, who was just like another villain in the Marvel Universe, and they decided to make him the Kingpin's henchman, his Meyer Lansky, if you will. Which is fine, makes sense to me, honestly. He's great. It was Bob Gunton who plays him. Bob Gunton is a great actor. Like, he's fun. It works. It's just interesting. So he has the next piece of the puzzle. We need to go after the money.
So where is Ben Ulrich's point in this? Because he definitely didn't just get in the way, the police officer that was shot, right? They meant to assassinate him, or did they mean to try and get
I think they
Ben?
meant to assassinate the... Here's the thing. If they are trying to frame Daredevil, assassinating a reporter is a lot less dramatic than shooting a cop. Yeah. Especially a cop who just talked to Daredevil.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who just gave out the king...
And
the sniper knows who the corrupt cops are versus who the uncorrupt ones are, so he was an expendable one.
I would like to say, speaking of Ben Urich, we actually owe Ben Urich an apology apology. We incorrectly stated in a previous episode that Marvels was about Ben Urich, and it is not. It is about photographer Phil Sheldon? Paul Sheldon? Phil Sheldon.
Oh, I thought it was about Ben Urich.
Yeah, he's in it, I think, but like it's about the photographer, not a writer. So
it's been a while since I've read it.
no, absolutely. So just in the interest of fairness, someone got us on that, and you were right. So thank you.
But read Marvels anyway. It's great.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book. It's a fantastic book, and this is a fantastic show.
Yeah,
I love this episode. It's very intense. And again, we're going to keep seeing Fallout, and that's really, really cool.
Awesome. So we'll be back next week with 3 more episodes. We hope you'll join us.
If you do. Good synchronicity.